Video 5. Thinking skills for coping with poor sleep. Many people struggling with pain find that pain can really affect the time at which they get to sleep or how often they wake up during the night. Lying awake, tossing and turning, we can feel like we're counting the minutes through the night. Our thoughts are racing. What did we do today? How can we get comfortable? What's happening tomorrow and how's that going to go if we don't get enough sleep? What could go wrong? Then that thought pings in our head, I'm not going to sleep a wink, and tomorrow is going to be an absolute disaster. This is the kind of thought that psychologists call worst case scenario thinking, or black and white thinking. They're really common when we're laying awake at night, but those thoughts in themselves are one of those energy boosters, the opposite of relaxing, and they produce a shot of adrenaline through our brains. For those reasons, someone who might predict, this is awful, I'm not going to sleep a wink, might find that shot of adrenaline then means sure enough they're going to lie awake, feeling anxious, tossing and turning, looking at the ceiling. The thought has then come true. See, I knew it. At the same time, when we do this, we're teaching our brain that our bed is a stressful place. We really want the mere sight of our bed to trigger those sleepy, relaxing feelings. It might help to start by writing out some of your worst case scenario thinking that goes through your head. Writing down thoughts that pop up can help us get them out of our head and onto the page and helps us look at them from a new point of view, with a bit of distance that helps give us more choice about how to deal with them. Let's look at 3 ways of dealing with thoughts. Firstly, asking, is this thought helpful and accurate? So the first thing to do is to take a thought, write it down, and then look at the evidence behind that thought to work out if it's accurate and helpful. If not, we can then practice a slightly more helpful version that gives the whole picture. It's a bit like being a judge, weighing up the evidence from the prosecution and the defence before making a decision about what's the most fair position. For example, that thought, I won't sleep a wink, and tomorrow at work will be a disaster. How much do we believe that at the time we think it? Probably 100%. But is it helpful? Is it accurate? Would that thought stand up in court? What's the evidence for that thought, I won't get a wink of sleep? Well, we've all had days of little sleep and feeling pretty rubbish the day after. But it turns out in lab studies, we're actually not that good at guessing when and how long we've slept. Scientists have wired people up to machines, and those machines suggest that people have nearly always slept for more time than they'd guess. So the chances are we might sleep a bit more than we think, even on a bad night. That said, it's a good idea to keep that sleep diary, as in video 2, to learn about your own sleep pattern. This then can help us look back at our diary to think, is it accurate? How many nights did I really not sleep at all in the last 2 weeks? How about the thought, tomorrow will be an absolute disaster? Well, perhaps we've had times when things have gone wrong after a bad night's sleep. That could be evidence for that thought. But on the evidence against side, the other way we're not good judges of our sleep is that we often blame poor sleep the night before on times when we're not on form the next day. Maybe we've had experiences of being a bit cross with others or poor concentration, and we've said, that's sleep's fault. We're really influenced as well by our impressions of what has recently happened to us, rather than thinking of the whole picture. And generally, poor sleepers are more likely to blame problems on our sleep than good sleepers, even if we've had similar amounts of sleep. Most likely, you might not be on your top form after a less than good night's sleep, but you'll probably get through the day okay. Looking back to the video on sleep myths might help. Remember, the body makes up for some poor sleep in the following nights, so we don't need to catch up on a sleep debt. All in all, weighing up all the evidence, a judge might decide that a more accurate, relaxing version of that thought would be, it's looking like I'm not going to get so much sleep tonight. I won't be on top form tomorrow, but I'll be all right. It might also help after a bad night's sleep to write it up in your sleep diary and then draw a mental line under it. Today's a new day and you're going to get through it. The second strategy is called putting the day to bed. If you're the kind of person who suffers from a racing mind, it can be helpful to put the day to bed before you start your wind down routine. At the end of your day, write down on a sheet of paper or on your phone or on a laptop what in the day went well, any challenging things that happened, what's happening tomorrow, and anything else you need to remember. If you just spend 10 or 20 minutes on this, put it away in another room, you've put the day to bed. Perhaps then keep a notebook by your bed to just jot down any important thoughts that you think pop up in that racing mind without having to do anything about them in your nighttime hours. The third and final technique would be to get up and stop that racing mind. Instead of lying awake, tossing and turning with the mind racing, experts suggest it's a good idea to get out of bed if you don't fall asleep within 20 or so minutes, and only come back to bed when you're feeling sleepy. So that's when you notice you're yawning, you're feeling tired, you've got those itchy eyes, that heavy, floppy, sleepy feeling. That way you're keeping that bed-sleep connection, so that when you see your bed, you're thinking, yes, sleep, not, oh no, stress. This can be really challenging if you don't have a lot of space or safe space in the place you live. And it's a big ask when your bed is warm and cozy. But people find that putting on a dressing gown and going to sit somewhere else, even if it's in the same space, on a cushion or a warm sofa, doing something relaxing to distract their mind and take the mind off the worries that might have preoccupied them, like listening to music, a relaxation, meditation practice, or reading something calming, can really help. Perhaps gentle stretches if you're in pain, or a warm non-caffeine drink could help too. If you have a wakeful night, at the very least, these might all be a lot nicer than getting wound up with your snoring partner, or lying in bed all tense, trying to not move around in case you make pain worse, or tossing and turning, trying to find a comfortable position. And finally, sleeping problems can be lonely, and we can think, I'm the only one in the world with this. It can help to remember that at any one time there are millions of other people around the world awake, whether it's time differences, night shifts, caring for family, or because they can't sleep either. So with bad sleep, we're in good company. So all in all, some thinking skills can really make the difference between tossing and turning, getting all stressed, and maximising your chances of a good night's sleep. So the next time you're struggling to sleep, you might want to have a go at these key thinking skills. So weighing up the evidence like a fair judge would about whether thoughts about sleep or about pain are helpful or accurate. Perhaps starting to put the day to bed before you start your wind down routine. And then the idea of getting up to stop that racing mind from taking hold in bed when you can't sleep.